Hello and welcome to Movie Battleground. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here either. This is Saturday. I've got pizza. This isn't a pizza presentation. This isn't the British Empire. But hey, I'm Tony Hill. Nice to be here. We have got a really interesting match coming up tonight. We have got the little boat, Caleb Boatman, taking on Asher Berrickson. Hopefully I read your name right.
Fine enough.
Good. But we do have two fantastic judges to join me along the way. First off, below me, it's a guy with one of the greatest beards in all the fan leagues, Mr. Kevin Boss. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to judging this match.
Excellent. And then over there, we have got a celebrity guest. We have got Mr. Guy Fieri. You do not have to do it in the accent.
Okay. But yeah,
right.
I just hope Cody crushes the match to KO both of you guys so I can go back to watching Lemonade Mountain on Disney Plus. But yeah, cool.
For those that aren't aware, that is actually Mr. Kenneth Lee. And what I believe is your debut in any of the league matches.
Yep.
So this is a special day. Muzzle tough. Okay, so just quickly go through the rules. You guys know them, but just in case anyone's watching for the first time, I apologize. We are going to start off with a 90-second opening from both competitors. Then they will have a 5-minute free-form debate. Please be aware that you don't have the full time to speak. You have to let the other speak during that. Don't be a dick. And then finally, you have 60 seconds as a closing argument. You do have the option of one time only. You can get an additional 60 seconds for either your opening or closing argument. You do have to announce that prior to starting, though. Yeah, so is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Or do you two want to say shit talk between each other? I know this is a heated rivalry.
I just want to get this over pretty quickly because my brother gave me his Disney Plus password. So, yeah.
Okay.
I want to go back to watching the Lindsay Lohan version of Freaky Friday.
I don't think this is really a heated rivalry. I just want to say that if your icon's Guy Fieri and you're not doing the accent, then I don't know what you're doing. So, but I don't have a Disney Plus account.
Well,
I don't really care for it.
Cool.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting disc. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm fighting with the
Don't
judges.
disrespect that man. He is an elected official.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm fighting with
Flavortown.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kenneth. I don't know why I'm fighting with the judges right now. Off to a great start.
And you're winning. But let's get this show on the road. So the first question we have is going in the drama/indie department. It's the best film directed by Terrence Malick. All right. So we're starting with. So we're going to be starting with yourself because. Let me just kick everyone out. All right. So you've got 90 seconds from when you start talking, and go ahead whenever you are ready.
Terrence Malick is the definition of a show not tell director. He does amazing things with visuals to tell the story into fruition in some way that the dialogue doesn't do it justice. He doesn't use the dialogue to further the plot necessarily to the point where you know what's going on. It comes through the visuals. And what is being done in his best movie, his magnum opus, The Tree of Life, is something beyond comprehension. It is an incredible movie that is perfectly acted, wonderfully directed, beautiful cinematography, incredible sound design, great cinematic score, and it just makes you feel like you're on another plane, just on another ethereal level, trying to be with this movie. It is more than a movie, it is an experience, and everybody should see it, and this is why it is the best Terrence Malick movie, The Tree of Life.
Yep. So 90 seconds soon as you start talking. You can concede whenever you want.
Okay, well, I will be arguing for The Thin Red Line. This is Terrence Malick's 1998 World War II film, a film that was nominated for Best Picture along with a bunch of other Oscars and has a very stacked cast. You have Sean Penn, Jim Caviezel, Adrian Brody, George Clooney, John Cusack, Woody Harrelson, among others that I am not listing. This is a very performance-driven movie, but it's also a very visual-driven movie. The shots of Terrence Malick's battles are brilliant. It's beautiful. It's Terrence Malick's cinematography. So, of course, it's going to be very great to look at because that's what the guy always does, is have great cinematography and great visuals. But there's a lot of great character elements going on. The stuff specifically with Jim Caviezel's journey as Private Wit and the emotionalness of the character that especially feels at like the end of the movie and that emotional ending. I think this will be very, very interesting, and I'll yield the rest of my time.
Champion. Okay, so we have got Asher with Tree of Life versus Caleb with the Thin Red Line. This is going to be an interesting argument. So we have got 5 minutes. Whenever my clock decides to set it up. Okay, so we are ready. So as soon as I drop off the call, you two can start arguing. If I have to come back in to stop someone talking, I will. I'll put a little banner up when it's 1 minute remaining so that you're aware.
Okay.
And so have fun. Bye-bye.
You go ahead.
Okay, fine. So as I mentioned before, I think Terrence Malick is the definition of a show don't tell director. I think what he does in his visuals really furthers his movie making skills. I don't think his plots and what he writes down, sorry about that, I don't think what he writes down is necessarily as important as what he shows. And what in the Tree of Life has is incredible visuals, much like the Thin Red Line, but I think it furthers the plot much more than what the Thin Red Line has to offer. Sure, the Thin Red Line has a lot of cast. It has a quantitatively greater amount of famous actors in it. But I would say that the performances are stronger in the Tree of Life, and I would say that it furthers the plot and it furthers what the message going forward is in the Tree of Life more than the Thin Red Line.
Well, here's the problem with the Thin Red Line, is I think Thin Red Line is Terrence Malick. Clearly, I agree with you. The visuals the problem with
the Tree of Life, right?
Excuse me, I misspoke there. The problem with the Tree of Life, the visuals, of course, brilliant. I will not argue with that. I think you can get brilliant visuals from any Terrence Malick movie. The problem with the Tree of Life is that it's clear it's not very character-driven. It's not very story-focused. Sure, there's some story going on, but then the movie gets distracted and it starts doing that weird scene with, like, the dinosaur, and it goes into all these other different directions. And I think it's Terrence Malick just kind of trying to be a little bit pretentious, and that's the biggest problem with it.
I don't really see that, because what I see is a philosophy of what it means to be human. The whole point of the movie is an evolutionary standpoint of what it means to be human and what it means to have a family and what it means to live truly. And through Jack, the young kid's eyes, the oldest brother's eyes, trying to win the love and affection of his father, that is huge. That is 1950s evolutionary status. That is what is being built throughout this entire movie. You see it in dinosaurs trying to survive until they get the asteroids to the Earth. You see it in the Big Bang. You see every emotional standpoint through nature, and you get to that climactic moment where it becomes clear that the son's trying to win approval and love from his father, but it's not happening clearly enough because he has a favorite son. And the neglection and the neglectingness of his father, played beautifully by Brad Pitt, is something clear to see. And it's coming from this beautiful visual and fantastic performances. And I think it's pretty clear, and I don't think it's really bogged down in pretentious nature, because I think there's a through line there. There's a clear through line, and I don't think it's really anything like that.
You see, I disagree, because I think a lot of times it's like the stuff with the dinosaur, like, I get it. It's supposed to be relevant to the family, but I think that's Terrence Malick just saying, oh, I want to do something cool visually. I want to do something here that I can do visually. It's just very much like him just kind of trying to do whatever he wants to visually and then kind of tie it together with the story. The story feels very much like it's just kind of set to the back burner. Like the stuff that you get, I would have loved. The movie that you're describing me, I love. I don't think that's the movie we got. I feel like the emotionality is very much being pushed into the background and not in the forefront. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, here's the family drama. Also, look at the trees. Look at the sky. It's a lot of voiceover. It's a lot of over explanation. I think that the performances are good, but not great. Whereas I think you get so many different great dialogue scenes with the soldiers. You get so many different scenes going on Thin Red Line, and that heartbreaking emotional scene at the end is really what gets it.
Yeah, you have the heartbreaking emotional scene in the Thin Red Line, sure, but I'm going to point out that several of the characters are pretty caricature-y. They're kind of cookie-cutter characters, and I honestly could not tell the difference. You have one character whose wife wants a divorce because she remarried, she fell in love with somebody else. I honestly couldn't tell if that was the captain or somebody else, because they're basically all looking alike, and they're all basically the same character. I couldn't tell. The one strong point in your movie is Jim Caviezel, and that's the last scene. So if you want to make a case for that, that's something else. My movie has a through line with Jack, the main character, the kid, trying to win his father's affection in a movie all about the evolution of the human life.
And time. So, jolly good arguing, gentlemen. You all behaved yourselves well. Yep, so you got 60 seconds. You can concede at any time you wish the rest of your time. And yeah, good. You will... Let me try to get my teeth in. Clock will start as soon as you start talking.
Listen, you can argue about the pretentious dinosaur all you want, but in the end, my movie is something truly original, wholly original, and his movie is a war movie. Honestly, plain and simple. I can name you several war movies. Hey, guess what? The war movie that in 1998 won for Best Picture, Saving Private Ryan. You have Lawrence of Arabia. You have Platoon. All these same movies fighting for the same exact thing. My movie is wholly original about a kid trying to win his father's love in the 1950s rural South. And guess what happens? He doesn't until it's too late. His brother dies, and everybody comes together in a beautiful climax at the end of the film. My film is all about the evolutionary process of what it means to be human, what it means to have hope, faith, love, affection. It's a new look on family throughout the time and how families have evolved. It's something truly spectacular. I'm going to end with a quote. The only way to be happy is to love. Unless you love, your life will flash by. Do good to them. Wonder, hope. These little scattered quotes throughout the movie really provide a context for what it means to be human and what it means to be loved with his beautiful visuals.
When you were starting with the quote, I was just like, Jesus, he's going to finish this exactly on 60 seconds of a quote. You don't get any extra points for that, but it would have been amazing.
I get style points. That's what I care about.
Yeah. All right, let's see if Boatman gets any style points. Let's bring him in. All right, yeah, so same situation. You got 60 seconds. You can see time whenever you wish. And yeah, the clock will start as soon as you start talking.
Okay, well, you're saying that, Thin Red Line is a war movie, and that's why, because it's unoriginal. Thin Red Line is a family drama about the father trying to connect to the son. I can point to a million movies that are like that. Big Fish, Ordinary People, Boyhood, October Sky, really. There are a lot of other movies that are like that. So just that it's similar to other movies isn't really a big thing. To me, it's the scope. It's trying to capture the scope of World War II. And that's really, it's not trying to focus on one thing. And that's what Terrence Malick really does best, is trying to capture the scope of the whole thing.
And that's 30. Right. Okay, so time for judging. What we'll do is we'll start with Kevin first, because hopefully he heard all of it. So, Kevin, what's your 2 cents? And where's your point going?
Yeah, so I'll start with Asher. Tree of Life. I like how you brought up that how he doesn't use his dialogue and uses visuals. How it takes takes you to another ethereal level. But Boatman, you just brought a lot more facts. You brought me the year. You brought me a lot of the actors. If I didn't know anything about either of these movies, I know a lot more about the Thin Red Line now. And you battled everything that Asher brought up as far as the philosophy. You countered the cookie cutter stuff about how Big Fish, October Sky. You brought up everything that you needed to, so I think Boatman wins this one.
Okay, so that's 1-0 to Boatman. So we'll let Kenneth go next from what he heard.
Screw you, man. Okay.
All right, so what's your thoughts and opinions?
Oh, yeah. This was very close for me. I'm just... Damn.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wait, so who got the point?
Oh, wait a minute.
Who?
I'm still deciding.
Oh, okay. I couldn't quite hear.
In your own time, Kat.
I'm going to go Asher. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Any particular reason why?
And Boatman didn't go on about really most of the plot of Thin Red Line until the very end.
Fair enough. Right, so that leaves me with the final vote. So, and cards on the table, I fucking hate Terrence Malick. Shocking if you know me. But this was an argument between two movies that I've watched and really disliked, but it was the case of who gave me the more of like, oh, this is the artistic credibility, this is the more legitimate office work argument. So I think both of you really did offer that, but I think the person that just edged it a tiny bit more, saying this is the reason why it's his greatest film. It's got to be Asher with the Tree of Life.
Wow. Okay. I am. Thank you. That was okay.
All right.
Shocked on that one, but awesome.
Okay. So we move on. So going to comedy next. No one did a laugh or I kill you. What comedic character would you most like to be your Uber driver? So we started with Asher on the first one, so we'll start with Caleb now on the second one. You have 90 seconds, sir, from the time you start speaking. Let me just set up a countdown timer. And yep, whenever you're ready.
Okay, which comedic character would you want to be your Uber driver? I'm going with the weirder pick because I think in an Uber driver, you want someone who is going to be logical, who's going to get safe, who's going to be able to have a good conversation with you, but also he's not going to overtalk. He's not going to be annoying. That's why I picked Billy Crystal's Dr. Ben Sobel from Analyze This. This is a guy who is a therapist. He probably, might need to make a little money on the side. The economy's not great right now. So he's also probably now an Uber driver. And I think he's not going to be overly crazy. He's going to be a good, normal driver like any of us are. And I think he's going to be able to, like, if you want to talk to him, be able to have, like, a decent conversation. But he also doesn't want to, like, therapize you because, that's his job. He doesn't want to do that. So he's not going to get nosy. He's going to be able to carry a conversation, but also not get too involved. And if he feels like you're annoyed, he can read that on people because, again, he studies psychology for a living, so he'd be able to tell. So he's not going to get too, like, annoying. And I'll yield the rest of my time.
Champion. Okay. Right, so we got Dr. Ben from Analyze This, and Mr. Asher, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Yeah, I think there's only one answer. It's Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. It's a NASCAR driver, so, I mean, the whole point of an Uber driver is to get you from point A to point B in the fastest time possible. Why not with the fastest man on wheels. I don't understand how there's any other clear choice than Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. This man is funny. He is a good-hearted American who just wants to win, win, win. If you're not first, you're last. So, I mean, it's kind of clear to me. And plus, the refreshments you get Mountain Dew, Domino's, Doritos. I mean, come on. Like, the refreshments you get in that car, he would trick out his car something fierce. And you would get an incredibly fast ride to the airport, wherever you're going. So I'm going with Ricky Bobby, shake and bake, you know, just win, baby. I mean, that's Al Davis, but if you're not first, you're last. So Ricky Bobby.
Excellent. So two very different choices. This is going to be a fantastic argument, I believe, for the debate. So I will just get the timer ready. And yep, so that's ready. So you got 5 minutes from whenever one of you starts talking. May God have mercy on your souls.
Okay, I'm just going to start with this. Ricky Bobby does not have to deal with pedestrians, with, you know, intersections, with stoplights, with anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He only is dealing with a straight track. So if he's going to drive super fast like he is, worst case scenario, he's going to cause a crash and kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
Best case scenario, he's going to get pulled over by the cops, and that's going to add more time to your trip. So if you're not first or last, you're going to be last because you're going to be pulled over by the cops. And you're going to say, oh, he's going to drive too fast to be caught by the cops. If he's driving that fast, he's going to crash into somebody because he's going to be zooming past a red light. The police officer is going to stop, and he's going to kill little Timmy crossing the street. You want that on your conscience? I don't think so.
I don't think you've seen Talladega Nights. There was a scene in it where he was a broken down man who didn't know how to drive, and then his dad tricked him into evading the cops for about 30 minutes, and he did it without hitting anybody. So I think if that's telling you his driving skills, sure, he didn't make every intersection perfectly, but he evaded the cops for 30 minutes, and if I could get to my stop, get out, and then he deals with them, he's not even going to get arrested or dealt with them because he's so good and he's so elusive. You don't know his elusive skills like that. And by the way, crashes, have you seen Analyze This? Ben Sobel gets into a car crash for the first 10 minutes of the movie. Like, he gets into a fender bender immediately in that movie. That's kind of what spirals out into the rest of the movie.
Somebody fender bends into him. He doesn't fender bend into anybody. That was not his fault. That was
he wasn't looking where he was going, and he ended up bumping in front of the car.
That was the person behind him that does that. That was not him. He's not going to cause a crash. Ricky Bobby, sure, you can say that he's going to evade the police, but if you have the police on your tail, that's not going to make a relaxing Uber drive. Oh, so let's say this. You're drunk. It's 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking a girl back to your place, right? So you want to keep the mood. Ricky Bobby's not going to keep the mood. He's going to be like, y'all going to fun back see? I bet y'all are. I'm Ricky Bobby. And he's going to be just annoying as a person. I think that Dr. Ben Sobel as a person, that's the big thing. Is he's going to be a pleasant driver as a person. Ricky Bobby's going to be annoying as a person. So even if your drive takes off 2 minutes off the time, he's not going to be – he's the type of person that I just wouldn't want to interact with in my daily life. That's the problem here. She's probably going to be like, this girl's going to be like, who's this Uber driver? Why do you get such a crazy Uber driver? I just want to go home. I'm stressed. We were driving way too fast. I'm having a panic attack.
Well, first of all, he is a former NASCAR Cup winning champion. So put some respect on his name. That's a huge accomplishment. Second of all, he's a celebrity. Third of all, I don't really care, honestly, because my thing is I'm not going to take a girl home in an Uber. I don't really like Uber in the first place. So that's kind of my thing. I don't like the company that much. I don't really care for them. But if I had to, I still wouldn't care because I think it would be an incredible roller coaster that I would get to experience. And in the end, I would get off without any bruises, without any pain. I just would have a very fun time. Are you going to see Ford versus Ferrari? I feel like it's going to be something like that. So that's where I'm at. For your Ben Sobel, the therapist thing, I really don't like that idea because again, in the movie, at the end of it, he's listening to his patients and he just snaps and he just goes off on them. And it turns out well for the patients that time, but do you think it's going to turn well for every time he snaps? No, not at all.
That does not happen in Analyze This. So
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. At the end of the movie, he's with Robert De Niro in the Mafia. What are you talking about? That's not where he is. He's
About
not
20 minutes
on his honeymoon for the majority, like last half of the movie.
20 minutes at the end of the movie, he is talking to this married couple who's talking about counseling, and he's like, well,
He's not with anybody. He goes on his honeymoon. He cancels all his appointments for the honeymoon, and then he's with Robert De Niro for like the last half. You might be thinking of Analyze That, which I am not counting in the argument.
I don't know what scene.
Dr. Ben Sobel from Analyze This. We can't. I'm not including Analyze That.
I'm not talking about Analyze That. I watched the movie, and there was a specific scene in it that where he snapped at his patients. Like, that's not a good thing for a therapist to do.
Even if that is
okay, and that is time.
Okay.
Right, I just want to make a comment that no one passed up when we were talking about taking a girl home on Uber. First of all, you have an echo. I got an echo. But yeah, you were talking about taking a girl home in an Uber, and then Asher said, "Oh, I'll come safely, no bruises or anything like that." I am a child. Yes, I am.
Yeah, we're the professionals here.
Hey. All right, so we got our final statements to make. We will start with Caleb for his 1 minute. And yep, so the clock will start whenever you start yapping.
Okay, again, I think a lot of Asher's arguments about Ricky Bobby are being based on what he would personally want for an Uber driver, which is fine, but this is not what the question is not, what do you want? Okay, never mind. But that's okay. So if we're talking about what you want, well, then there is no wrong answer. If the question is, which is a weirdly worded question, actually, which comedic character would you want to be your Uber driver? Okay, you want that to be your Uber driver. I want Dr. Ben Sobel. There's no wrong answer. So we need to go based on what is the most universally acceptable Uber drivers. That's really what the question is. And again, I think 9 times out of 10, most people would be freaked out by Ricky Bobby. You can say, oh, in this universe, he's a NASCAR champion. Well, he's also a disgraced champion who ran naked on the track and started praying to Tom Cruise. So again, that's not going to be great for everybody. And you can say that he snapped on his patients or whatever.
And
time to do that in the normal.
Okay, running naked around and worship Tom Cruise. That just sound like my weekends when I'm not doing this shit. But actually, so it's your turn, sir. You've got 1 minute as soon as you are ready.
So Ricky Bobby reclaimed his championship at the end of the movie. True, he didn't technically win, but he won his pride back. So I think that's fair enough to say. Second of all, I think that's not nearly as dangerous as having a guy who's tied in with the mob being your Uber driver. Are you insane? How dangerous that would be? The hits, the mob shots. He's in gun sight all the time. That is a ridiculously dangerous thing to be putting yourself in as a driver and as a passenger. For me, I would rather have a celebrity who could drive me around. I could be drinking Mountain Dew and I could be in a roller coaster ride essentially, and I could get off scot-free at the end of it and get to where I want to go very fast. I do not want a man who got in the fender bender and then got tied into this huge hellish situation with the mob to be my Uber driver, because if he makes one wrong turn, he's screwed, you're screwed, and you're going to die. And I don't want that in my Uber driver.
Okay. That is time. Right, so I'm going to start because I've got a mouth. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got food on the floor that I'm wanting to eat. Right, so to say I'm going with Caleb. I think he made a best argument of which one would be the better driver, which one would be the most. Like, I think the argument with Ricky Bobby was just like it would sound like a fucking nightmare more than anything else that was presented. Like, oh yeah, you'll get it really fast, you'll get it really quick. Like, No, I just want to make them in one piece and not die. So for me personally, I've got to go with Caleb. So we'll go with the man over far right of me, Kevin.
I agree with you, Tony. Asher, you brought up a lot of good points about how getting from point A to point B fast is a key point of Uber, and the refreshments from all the sponsorships. That'd be awesome, but having the police chase you, like Boatman said, if you got a girl with you or something, you're trying to get a girl home or something, that's not very relaxing. And Dr. Sobel, like you said, he's not overly crazy. He would talk to you if you wanted to talk. If not, he may not pry. So yeah, I would go with Boatman.
We're going to move on to our third category, which is going to be classics.
Oh God.
So this is going to be the best decade for Stanley Kubrick. Asher, you want to start. You have 90 seconds. Start whenever you start talking. Please choose the right decade this time.
Okay. Thank you. That's very kind. So when you think of Stanley Kubrick is one of the best directors of all time, very well known for incredible films spanning generations of his era. He is one of the best directors of all time for good reason. He's made incredible films from the 40s to the 90s. It's incredible what his work is. Boatman's going to give you an option that most people would pick, but I'm going to give you a counter. I'm going to choose the 1970s. And the reason why I'm going to choose the 1970s is, although Stanley Kubrick was able to create incredible films throughout that time, he didn't really hit his stride, and he didn't really create a truly artistic film until the late 60s, and then hit his stride in the 70s. And this stride came with the ultra-violent genre piece known as Clockwork Orange, and the ultra period piece that's artistically beautifully shot in Barry Lyndon in 1975. These two films really helped him create his stride for what it was to be an aesthetic piece, to be an incredible performance piece, to be a plot-driven film, and to be some of his best films to date, honestly. And this is the era, the 1970s, when films didn't really take those risks, and it was really, really nice to see it coming from Stanley Kubrick. So that's why I chose the 1970s.
And perfect timing. Bravo. You get a brownie point.
Yay,
all right.
Brownie.
So Mike Bukowski, whenever you're ready.
Let's just get started. So 60s is when Kubrick had like the most of his output, but that's not really why I'm arguing it. Sure, he has quantity, but it's more about the quality than the quantity. You have Spartacus, the Kirk Douglas epic that Peter Ustinov won the Oscar for. Then you have Lolita, which is a very uncomfortable movie to watch, but it's very well made. Then you go over to Dr. Strangelove, where you have just a brilliant comedic performance from Peter Sellers and just this dark commentary on the Cold War, while also being a very funny movie with Sellers playing three different characters. And then you have his magnum opus, 2001: A Space Odyssey, this beautiful, brilliant epic. Kubrick tried so many different things in this decade, and they all work. And I'll yield the rest of my time.
Okay, champions. So we are seeing a battle between the 1970s and the 1960s. No one chose my particular decade of preference, the 1980s. If anyone went with the 1980s, they would have automatically won. I always just say that for free.
Yeah.
I do have a tattoo of the Full Metal Jacket logo on my back. So
I am in a world of shit. Okay, let's do this.
All right, so we got 5 minutes. Starting when I mute my mic and you two start talking. Good luck.
Well, you said it's not quantity over quality, but I do want to mention that it is technically quantitatively larger, and that fact is not really going to help you. The fact is, I think he spread himself too thin in the 60s, and here's why. I think Spartacus is a 3-hour epic that is a sword and sandals epic that really doesn't muster its weight. It's pretty slow, Kirk Douglas puts in a good performance, sure, but it's very slow moving. There's not that much action going on. It's a lot more deceit and lies. You have Lolita, which is, you're right, uncomfortable, but again, it's very long and very, very slow. The intertwining plot lines are not really hitting as much as the book. You have Dr. Strangelove, and I'm going to commend Peter Sellers for his incredible performance, but I think that's the movie. It's a Peter Sellers movie. It's not really a Stanley Kubrick movie, in my opinion. And then you do have 2001 Space Odyssey. That I can't really argue with. That is a great movie, but that is 1 out of 4. That is not a great percentage, in my opinion.
Well, then let's break this down. I want to first talk about, I think everything that your two movies bring, I have something to counter with it. I think Barry Lyndon, it's a very sprawling, very long epic that's visually good, but not really much else. I think visually, 2001 is a better visual experience. And I think if you want a period piece that is kind of a sprawling epic with some dialogue scene and great performances, I think you have more great performances in Spartacus, which is really the thing about that movie. It's not just Kirk Douglas, it is Peter Ustinov and it's Tony Curtis. It's everybody else in that movie. And Dr. Strangelove, I'll agree that it's not necessarily Kubrickian, but that doesn't make it a lesser movie. Like, it does have Peter Sellers giving his amazing, great performances, but you also have Sterling Hayden as General King Kong, and you have Stanley McCluskey in there as this kind of insane general who's about to send the nuke. So I think you've got a lot of commentary and a lot of comedy going on in there. It's not just Peter Sellers. And again, I agree it's not necessarily Kubrickian, but we're not arguing most Kubrick decade. We're arguing best Kubrick decade, and that's the difference.
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing. Yes, you have counters, but I'm going to do some things that are very, very monumental for Kubrick and very monumental for film in general. Kubrick took paintings and basically just made them into film. That is incredibly hard to do. He took inspiration from several Baroque paintings and several Victorian-era paintings in Barry Lyndon, and he transformed them into film in the 70s. That is incredibly hard to do. Not to mention, he used almost all natural lighting. He used candle lighting, sun lighting, window lighting, almost all natural lighting for the movie in an era when they started to use stage lighting and lamp lighting a lot more. So you gotta give him credit where credit's due. There are some incredible performances by Ryan O'Neal and everybody else in that movie. Listen, it's hard when you choose the 80s, man, or think you choose the 80s. I'm going to keep going. You have good performances in that movie by Ryan O'Neal and by other people in that movie. It's really more of a visual spectacle, and where he puts it with the period pieces that have been made in prior years and the period pieces that have been made in years further.
I will agree. Barry Lyndon was very, very hard to make. I will agree with that. It would be very, very hard to make an entire movie only showing grains of rice. That doesn't mean I want to watch that movie. That doesn't make that movie watchable. Barry Lyndon was very hard to make, and it's very beautiful looking, but it's a very boring, very stilted movie. It probably could have been told in about an hour and a half rather than 2.5 hours, but Kubrick was so concerned with the visuals that he didn't really care about the story. And that's the problem. Now, let's talk about Clockwork Orange, because we haven't talked about that. That movie is very, very uncomfortable, very, very hard to watch. It's not one that I ever want to rewatch again. It's a very, and I get what that's going for, but if you want something uncomfortable, go to Lolita.
Oh, no, don't you say that. No, if you're going uncomfortable, if you're going to
go to 2001 A Space Odyssey, everything you can get from A Clockwork Orange, even the dark kind of look on our future, you can get from Dr. Strangelove.
If you're going uncomfortable, you got to go full throttle. There's no way Lolita is better than A Clockwork Orange. Malcolm McDowell puts in his best performance. I have to go in the closing. Okay, cool.
No worries. Yep, so we do have our closing arguments go. So let me set it up. Yeah, if you want to watch something dark and depressing, this last 50 minutes of this match.
Yeah,
hey, it's been good.
Yeah.
All right. So Asher, you're going to start 70s. You have 60 seconds to do your final argument. Whenever you're free.
Look, he's going to give you those counters, but here's the thing. Clockwork Orange is one of the best masterpieces of the 1970s in an era that had a dearth of movies. It was incredible. It was great. It was an incredible movie about ultraviolence, dystopian futures. That's what's going on now. And he presented it in the 70s in an era that didn't have that. He revolutionized the movie world with that. Malcolm McDowell put in incredible performance. He made Beethoven's Ninth scary. How hard is that to do? I think this man changed what movies can do in the 1970s. You have movies in the 60s like Spartacus, by the way, is also bloated and long, just like Barry Lyndon, if you're arguing that. You have Lolita, which is less uncomfortable. Why not go full throttle with A Clockwork Orange? You have Dr. Strangelove, which is basically a performance piece. Peter Sellers could have done it himself. And you have 2001: A Space Odyssey, a movie that's kind of overhyped. It's beautiful to look at, but in the end is kind of a meh movie. It's essentially Tree of Life 50 years beforehand. So,
and time. Interesting take in your own winning argument from 2 rounds ago.
I mean, gotta try to win somehow.
All right, go on, Boatman. 60 seconds.
Okay, so I'm just going to counter. So I think just taking it movie by movie, you're not really arguing for Barry Lyndon. You're arguing for how hard it was to make, but you're agreeing that that movie's not very watchable, and that's kind of a big problem. I think A Clockwork Orange, I would disagree. Lolita is far more comfortable. That is a movie about a man who is contemplating having a sexual relationship with a 12, 13-year-old girl. That is incredibly uncomfortable. So I think that one honestly is more full throttle, whereas A Clockwork Orange, it gets a little lax in like the middle half once he's like reformed. So I don't think that movie's quite as uncomfortable. It's more just like shocking rather than uncomfortable, whereas Lolita really sinks in. You have the brilliance of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which, yeah, I'll agree. If we are agreeing that Tree of Life is the best Terrence Malick movie, then 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Time. Okay, so 2 arguments really well done there. I think all credit has to go to Asher for literally thinking he was arguing one thing, then changing it on the drop of a hat.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that.
No, it's fine. I slipped up. I should have prepared for the other. I tried my hardest.
You did an awesome job. So we'll start with Kenneth for our first judging.
This was a very, however, I think Boatman was better and not hard. And he also, and Asher shot himself in the foot with the Tree of Life thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I shot myself in the foot a lot earlier than that. Thank you.
That was just when the coagulated blood was starting to heal. So it'll be me next to go. As I said, I have to give Asher all the credit in the world for changing his argument on the drop of a dime, being able to argue so well. But I think it's a case that I think the fact that you didn't even touch 2001: Space Odyssey that was just the left side just shows how much of the 60s was more impactful for Kubrick than the 70s. So yeah. I think Caleb has to take that. Okay, so that takes us to 2-1 to Boatman. All right, our final question for this. Hopefully, we don't have to go. Well, hopefully, for Ashley, we do have to go into sudden death. I don't know what else is it. No, it's one of those things where it's like I don't know what the fuck sudden death actually is here.
All right, let's keep moving because I don't want to miss my showtime.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Animated. What's the best Disney animated film? So we started with Asher for the first round. So we are going to start with Caleb for this. You have 90 seconds starting when I say you can start talking, which is now.
I'm going with a movie that I know it's not typically regarded in the top tier. The top tier is reserved for the Renaissance stuff. But I think that's because this movie came out in an era that was weird for Disney. And I think if it came out like 5 years earlier, it would be like basically generally considered one of the 2 greatest Disney movies of all time. I'm going with Lilo and Stitch. I think this is a movie that has the whimsical, comedic elements that we love and know from Disney and the great soundtrack. You have the stuff with Stitch and Pleakley and Jumba and all the aliens. And you have the great soundtrack with Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride and all the Elvis songs. But you also have the emotional connection. You have the connection between Lilo and Nani. Nani specifically being forced into a situation where she basically has to be the parent to her little sister because their parents died. And Lilo basically being the first real, maybe not first, but one of the only really realistic depictions of a kid on film. Lilo acts like a scared little kid. She's not too perfect or too bratty. She's just a normal kid, and that's perfect. It's incredibly well written. It's incredibly funny. It's incredibly heartwarming. That movie is amazing. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Perfect. You had 3 seconds left.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going Lilo and Stitch from Caleb Boatman. It's a shock. I know there's people in having heart attacks at home. But yep, so actually, you've got 90 seconds now to go. Disney animation was the greatest one.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you the greatest one. That's going to be a David v. Goliath. I'm going to give you The Lion King because that's what everybody says. And there's a reason why that's what everybody says. It is incredible. When you think of a Disney movie, you think of not just the movie and the morals and what is going on in the movie. You think of the music. And if you're going to pit that against Lilo and Stitch, this one has music in spades. It has Can You Feel the Love Tonight? It has Circle of Life. It has Hakuna Matata. Elton John wrote some of the soundtrack. That is awesome. That is incredible. But beyond that is a Shakespearean epic set in a children's movie for all ages. That is incredibly hard to do in the 1990s, no less, with hand-drawn animation. And it is something, it's a sight to behold. It's something that I can watch for hours on end, over and over, and see new things in the movie. It is something that is beautiful, that is remarkable, and there is a reason why so many people regard this as their favorite Disney movie. There's a reason that it is so popular, because it has a connection with its viewers. Something that I can say that The Lion King is the best Disney movie of all time. I yield my time. I don't know how much I had. But...
Champion, you got 20 seconds left.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll yield it. Let's do it.
Okay. So we are doing Lilo and Stitch versus Lion King. This is going to be a lovely debate, I feel. So we got 5 minutes starting as soon as I wave my hand and say that I've muted. So.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the songs because.
Yeah.
If we're arguing song, Lion King probably wins, but the question is not best soundtrack. That is not the question. And I know Lilo and Stitch does not focus on the soundtrack whatsoever. The songs are just a part of the background of the whole experience.
Yeah.
Whereas Lion King, I don't think works without the songs. I think it basically kind of holds itself up there with the songs. I think Simba starts off as kind of a brat, and I think he's kind of annoying. He's basically just...
So was Hamlet, sure. I mean, that's the movie. Like, the movie is...
But it's hard to connect with that character. You can say, oh, Hamlet's... you can't just say, oh, Hamlet, it's a ripoff of Hamlet. That makes it perfect.
I mean, sure, but I can say that, Lilo and Stitch is a ripoff of E.T., The Iron Giant, Mac and Me, Close Encounters of the Third Time, Superman, like all the movies that have alien prototypes that are befriending little kids. It's kind of the same thing. It's a movie that lifts stuff from other movies and tries to sell it to young kids. And that's what Disney does, and Disney does it well. But here's my point. My point is that Disney movies are known for their music, right? And that's what I'm trying to put here. Every Disney movie that is huge in popularity, you got The Little Mermaid, you got Frozen now, Moana now, you have You have The Lion King. You have so many Aladdin. You have so many incredible musicals from Disney in their Renaissance era and their new modern age that everybody knows now and everybody remembers. And that's because of the music, but not just the music. This cast, this voice cast is incredible. You got James Earl Jones as Mufasa, the father figure. You have Nathan Lane as Timon. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. You have Jeremy Irons in this movie. He is an incredible villain. You have Shakespearean actors in this movie, in a Shakespearean movie that is taking place with animals as the characters. I think it's an incredible allegory.
Well, I want to respond to your point about Iron Giant, E.T., and all that, because I think that's just a vague premise. The structure of Lilo and Stitch is very different from all those movies. Sure, you have a movie about a kid finding an alien. That's one thing, but that's really where the similarities stop completely and stop. It's a completely different movie. And I only brought up Hamlet because you were saying, well, Simba's a good character and so is Hamlet. Like, to me, that's not a connecting thing. Like, you can't use Hamlet as an argument to propel just because it's like Hamlet. That makes it good. I think the big thing about Lion King is Scar, and specifically Scar gets very weak at the end of that movie, and I mean weak character. That character, his complete journey gets very whiny, and that entire last half of that movie gets very iffy and very confused as to what the message is, and I will let you respond, but I have a point about the message that be able to respond to it.
Yeah. Do you want to say the message now so I can respond to both, or you want me to just say the arc?
We go ahead and then I'll say the
Okay, I would say Scar's arc is actually very interesting, and here's why. If you want to look at the movie either way, of the hero story or the villain story, you can look at it this way. You can look at Scar as a man trying to overthrow the crown to see what he thinks is rightfully his. In the end, he lets greed get the better of him. He lets gluttony get the better of him. He lets sin get the better of him, and he makes his cronies, he makes his mercenaries do his bidding to the point that they don't want to stand for it anymore. He slips up and they fight back. And this is the downfall of a man who lets sin overtake him. That's what I think The Lion King is about. I think it is a Shakespearean epic in all its glory, and I think it's a perfect introduction into the real world for young children.
I want to give the quick thing about the message since we only have a little bit of time left.
Yeah.
All right, Rafiki, the whole thing about Simba and Rafiki just being like, you need to face the past and not run away from it. That's the whole point of the movie, right? But when Simba does that, nothing happens. He faces the past and owns up to his past mistakes. What the movie is about, owning up to your mistakes and not running from your mistakes. It's only when Scar reveals, no, you didn't make any mistakes. You don't have to worry about the past. Everything you just learned from Rafiki, throw it out the window. That's when everything starts working out. So really what the movie's message is saying, hey, you learn this lesson, throw it out the window. Don't run from your mistakes unless you're actually not responsible for those. Then
time. Right, so filling on between the two of you, I think that was very interesting. So we are moving on to our final statements. So we got 60 seconds on the clock. Mr. Boatman, you can start with Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I think Lilo and Stitch is a movie that gets so emotional. It gets so, the connection, sure, it might have a similar arc to some other movies. They're not really an arc, just a similar premise. But what it does with that similar premise is what makes it work. It's the characters, it's the connectivity between Lilo and Nani that makes that movie work. It's the most realistic, emotional relationship in a movie ever. That's the big thing. I think everybody remembers Ohana means family. There's such an element to that movie where it is about the fantastical elements that Disney always does well. But it's that rare emotional element that you can't really find, the connectivity, not just vague emotionality, complex emotionality. That's what Lilo and Stitch does best. That's why it's about the family. It's about the human connection. That's why Lilo and Stitch is the best Disney movie of all time. I will yield.
Time.
Okay.
You have no time to yield, sir. How dare you?
I want to yield. I want it on record that I yielded.
You yielded 1.1 second.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay, excellent. Also, this now just proved that the only reason Caleb chose this was to get his Stitch impersonation out there.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, so Asher, if you do pull out a James Earl Jones impersonation here, that will get you bonus points. So let's see what you can do in the meantime.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute starting whenever you feel like it.
I think when it comes down to this, it comes down to it. He did own up to his mistakes, and he did end up fighting, and he did end up winning, and he did end up getting the kingdom back to its real nature that it was. It is a story about how things work in nature. That's what it is. It's a story of how the world works. And it is one of the most quotable Disney movies you ever have. It is everything a light touches, Simba, is yours. It's Pride Rock. It's all of the incredible songs that I mentioned. It's Elton John. I want to argue one thing. He tossed aside the whole idea about the family thing and how it's not like all those other movies. Guess what? E.T. and the Iron Giant were all about friendship and family. They all befriended the aliens. It's the same exact movie. This movie, sure, maybe lifted the Hamlet thing, but it did it with such grace and such style. It was quite impressive. And finally, if you want to go the commercial route, this is the most commercially successful Disney movie of all time. In a world of Disney Plus and all the streaming giants that there are, this is the hugest, most successful movie with all the quotable stuff and all the toy stuff you have.
Okay, so yeah, fantastic arguments from both. So we will start off with who started off our first round, Mr. Kevin Poss. Give us your opinions, champ.
All right. This is a close one. Okay, so with Boatman's wow. Man. I like how you brought up, the emotional connection between Lilo and Nani. The human connection, the Ohana meaning family. I like how you brought that up finally. I was hoping you would. You really fought hard against what Asher had to say, because when you think Disney, you think Lion King. I mean, that would have also been my choice, but this isn't my choice. You think of the soundtrack, Shakespearean epic or Kimba the White Lion. Yes. Man, this is close. I feel like Boatman baited you, Asher, into that argument about Scar, or about Scar, and about how he's a weak character in the last half, and then what was the message? So the fact that you couldn't really come back with that one, I'm gonna give Boatman the point here.
Okay, and Kenneth.
This is very even. However, I'm going to go Boatman purely because I don't think Asher really had that good of a rebuttal against how the message is really jumbled in the movie.
Your winner, Caleb Boatman. I don't know if I had to do the voice. I just felt like it. So this is the point where I guess I'll just ask one quick sentence. Ash, how you feeling?
Pretty pissed off and tired. I mean, Caleb put in a hell of a fight. I kind of think I won the second one, but yeah, and I slipped up on this one. I really should have mentioned the Mufasa death. That would have been huge, but I did not. And Caleb brought it. Like when I saw Lilo and Stitch, I knew I was kind of fucked, so I had to kind of work hard on this one. But Caleb put in a hell of a fight, and he deserved the win. So congrats.
Champion. You used a lot of comments in that one sentence. I'm very impressed. Also, thank you for the James Earl Jones.
Yep.
James Earl Jones impersonation. All right, Boatman, 1 minute, 1 sentence. How you feeling?
Good. I'm gonna go see Ford versus Ferrari now.
Go.
On
Run
Disney
away.
or something.
I'm sure it's as good as Ricky Bobby, you being your Uber driver, man.
Very possibly. But yeah, I want to thank everyone for jumping in, and Kevin, Hannah for judging, Asher and Boatman for playing. Yep, this is Battlegrounds. Keep watching matches for better people actually hosting it that knows what they're on about. And yeah, congratulations, Boatman, commiserations, and go do something better with your life. Bye.